This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's going on, everybody? As we all know, mental health is a huge piece for me. And recently, as I become a better version of myself, I've decided that it's time for me to go to therapy because I understand how life can be a little overwhelming and we all need help navigating through the trenches of military service in and out of uniform. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. First, all you got to do is go to their site. Matter of fact, you can use my link right here. Answer a few questions and BetterHelp will match you with a professional who has years of experience in helping people with struggles just like yours. You can do it all from your phone or computer via phone call or video chat or messaging, however you feel most comfortable. It's the easiest possible way to start talking to a therapist. You will be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours so you can get started fast. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your home. Visit betterhelp.com/meechspeaks and enjoy a special discount on your first month.
Always say something. A prize, motherfucker.
Leave me alone. Go out west. Give me your phone. Blow it down west.
What's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcaster with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm Demetrius Thigpen, also known as Meech Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of the Talking Crazy podcast. Now, before we get started with this podcast, I got a question that I just need to ask real quick. You know what I mean? I need answers on this question. Has anybody else ever been in a situation where you know you should have said something, but you decided not to? You know what I mean? Like you could have said something, but you were like, nah, I'm going to let this go. It ain't worth the time. It ain't worth the energy. I don't feel like going back and forth. Or maybe you just didn't want to kill the vibe in the room, you know? Maybe it was a conversation with your significant other, you in a relationship. Maybe it was at work and you just said, you know what, man, I could be right today, but I'm going to just let it go. Or you know what, man, like I just don't want to go through the hassle. Am I the only one that's ever been in a situation like that? You know what I mean? Like, am I the only one that's ever been in a situation like that? And I bring that up, man, because one thing about me is that I always will try to speak my mind, okay? Now, I'm going to be honest, all right? Has it worked out for me? 100%. Has it been my downfall as well? I mean, come on now, it's a double-edged sword. But I will say this. Is every hill worth dying on? No, it's not. But when it comes down to your character, you know what I'm talking about? Like who you are as a person, as a Marine, as a leader, as a husband, as a wife, as a father, as a mother, as a human being. Come on now, you already know I'm about to say something. If it goes against my values, come on now, you already know I'm about to say something. If it's right versus wrong, you know what I mean? Like you know for a fact that's wrong. Come on now, you know I'm about to say something. And the reason why I'm going to is because I won't let myself, let me rephrase that, I won't forgive myself if I don't. Like if I don't speak up, I won't let myself sleep. I'm waking up in the middle of the night, having the exact same conversation that I wish I would have had in front of you. I'm going to go back to the car, drive in silence. Whole time I'm playing the conversation back in my head. You know, every time I see you, I can't even hear what you're saying. The only thing that I'm thinking about is the conversation I wish I would have had with you. So eventually, if I don't say it now, I'm going to say it later anyway. And the problem is that if I don't say it now, I'm going to let it fester. I'm going to let it build up. And then at the slightest inconvenience, right? Like at the slightest inconvenience, I'm just waiting for you to just do something else. That's when I'm going to say what's on my heart when I should have said what was on my mind the first time. Am I the only one that do stuff like that? You know, am I the only one? So this episode is all about speaking up and the importance of speaking up. All right, now before we talk about the importance, I'm going to tell you right now, man, like the dangers of staying silent are real. All right. Now, one thing that I've learned, especially being in the military for the past, let me rephrase that. One thing that I've learned, especially being in the Marine Corps for the past 14 years, is that if you choose to stay silent, right? Like if you choose to stay silent, you are denying yourself the opportunity to be heard. You're denying your emotions. You're denying your thoughts. You're denying yourself the opportunity to be heard. You know what I mean? And when you deny yourself that, you are giving someone else permission to write the story for you or create the narrative for you. You're giving somebody else permission to assume some shit about you that's not even true. You know? This also can lead to miscommunication. All right. And I will say this right now, because you didn't say something, everyone else is just going to assume the best or worst case scenario. Because you didn't say anything, everyone else is going to assume that you either don't want to do it, or you want to do it, or you don't want to go there, or you do want to go there, or you don't have plans, or you do have plans. Everything is just up in the fucking air because you don't open your mouth. All right. And this ain't me getting on you. This is just me speaking from my perspective, because I know what it looks like when you don't say anything and now you have this whole big miscommunication. A good example of this, man, is like, you know, when somebody is saying something to you and they try to like sign you up for some shit, knowing damn well that you got plans. You know you got plans, bro. You know you got something going on this weekend. But because you didn't tell them that you had something going on this weekend and you agreed, now you showing up with an attitude. You know what I mean? You trying to hurry up and get the job done. Any slight inconvenience that could delay or deter the timeline that you got off in your head because you just made adjustments to come on now. You know, because you didn't say anything, that now you are making adjustments to be able to meet the timeline that you previously had because you didn't cancel. So now you trying to hurry up and get it done. But nobody knows that you actually had plans. And nobody knows that you actually didn't even want to do this because of your plans. And that's what it looks like when there's a big miscommunication. But I think the one that's most important, to be honest with you, is the internal stress. Just like what I mentioned earlier, man. Like when I say I don't allow myself to forgive myself when I don't speak up, it's that internal stress. I lay in the bed and I'm thinking about it. I'm constantly replaying it, beating myself up. Even when I don't say anything, in live feedback, I can hear my thoughts saying, go ahead, tell them what's going on. You know you don't want to do that. You know you don't like that. You know you got plans. You know you got something else that you need to do. You know that that's not right. And it festers inside of me. And because I didn't release those thoughts, it just sticks with me. Now I'm driving home in silence. Whole time I'm playing that conversation. I'm laying in bed, waking up in the middle of the night, replaying this conversation. I'm in front of people disassociating because I'm constantly thinking about the other shit that's going on. So when I tell you that when you choose to stay silent, you are denying yourself your overall well-being. You're going to be stressed out because you know you wish you would have said something. There's going to be some type of miscommunication because you never vocalized what was going on. And it just festers. And I don't know who need to hear this, but you think that you're doing everybody a service by keeping it to yourself. But in reality, you're actually making the situation worse. All right, now, if there are dangers of being silent, there has to be benefits for speaking up. Now, I will say this real quick, man. When you choose to speak up, you are already establishing to everyone in the room that you have boundaries, okay? I'm going to just say that right now. When you choose to speak up, you are establishing a certain level of self-respect within yourself, but you're also echoing that towards everyone in there. You're letting people know that you're not a fucking walkover. You know what I mean? Like, they not going to be able to just say anything, sign you up for anything, drive the narrative, control the conversation, because you will speak up. You're letting people know that right out the gate. But also, man, you're also fostering better relationships. A good example of this, and I don't think I've told a lot of people that, but there was a time where I did not speak up, you know, and I kept it to myself. And it was about a nickname, you know what I mean? Like, everybody knows that my name is Meech. But my first name is Demetrius, you know what I mean? And everyone once thought that I went by D instead of Meech, you know? And I just like let it go. And I didn't tell anybody that, hey, like my name is it's not D, it's Meech. I spent a year and a half being called D. Do you know, I'm not even about to lie, I'm kind of embarrassed even saying that out loud because I allowed it to just go on for so long. And I just put on this character of just being D. And I would create relationships and friendships, but the reality is that you're friends with D. You're not necessarily friends with Meech. And when I say that you're able to create better relationships, or let me rephrase that, you're actually able to create real relationships because of the simple fact that when I finally spoke up and said, like, hey, my name's Meech, dude. Like, I do not like being called D. It allowed me to be a lot more transparent and open. And to this day, man, like sometimes I sit back and I think about why it took me so long to say it. You know what I mean? And yeah, was I scared? 100%. Did I really want to go down that whole conversation of why didn't you say anything? No, but that's a conversation that I needed to have. And when I chose to speak up, right, I felt a lot better about myself. I'm not even about to lie to you, dude. Like, I kind of felt better about myself. I also felt better about just opening up to people because it wasn't D opening up. It was actually Meech opening up. And it allowed my friendships to grow, and it allowed them to have a solid foundation because I'm going to just be honest. The foundation was built on D, not Meech. So when I tell you that there is a benefit to speaking up, it allows you, man, like it really allows you to let people know who you really are, like who you truly are. Another benefit of speaking up is the ability to be able to promote growth and change within your environment. People that don't speak up, man, like they just go with the flow. Even if the plan is shit, they're running with the plan because they don't want to say anything. But when you speak up, right? And a good example of this is that, say, for example, somebody give you a task or tells you a plan or tells you what they're about to do. You know for a fact that it's shitty. You do. Based off of experience, based off of just hearing it, based off of facts, you already know that it's a crappy plan. So when you speak up, you are providing an opportunity to be able to change that, all right, which will in turn make either A, the environment better, B, make the relationship stronger, or C, be able to impact everyone around you. So when you speak up, man, like you are promoting growth and change within the environment. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's easy to talk about the dangers, and it's also easy to talk about the benefits. But one thing that we just got to address, man, because I don't know who need to hear this, but speaking up is scary, bro. Like, I don't know who need to hear this, but speaking up is scary as hell. You feel me? Because you don't want to get shut down. You don't want to kill the vibe. You don't want people not to like you. Bro, there's so many factors that go into the fact of why we don't speak up. And I'm not about to act like I just ignore those. All right? I'm not about to ignore those. But what I will say is that there are tips for overcoming that fear. The first one, and I do this one every single day, especially if I know I'm about to walk into a conversation, especially if I know that I got something on my mind, I'm always going to rehearse the conversation. If you've ever met me in person, you know, and you've just seen me by myself, walking around, smoking a cigarette, just if you've ever just seen me not around people, you know that I talk to myself. And hey, look, I'm going to just be completely honest with you. Of course, I'm going to consult with the realest person that I know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to consult with the realest person that I know, and that's me. So when you see me talking to myself, understand I'm running a scenario in my head. Maybe I'm about to go in there and have a conversation. I'm practicing what I want to say, you know, because I know for a fact that at some point I might have to say this. So I'm usually just practicing. I'm going over it. I'm making sure that what I'm saying, I can properly be able to convey it. Another tip to overcoming the fear of speaking up is learn to handle disagreements. When you speak up, understand that you're not speaking up to get them to agree. You're speaking up to be heard. You know what I mean? Like, the whole purpose of you speaking up is not necessarily for people to agree. People don't have to agree with you. But the reality is that you're speaking up so that you're heard. There's been a couple of times where I spoke up about something that I thought was fucking stupid. Did it change? No. But everybody knew where I stood on it. You know what I mean? Like, and I cannot stress that enough, is that everybody knew where I stood on it. And the reason why I had to say that is also because of my values. I'm not about to compromise my values. You may want to go with this. This may be something that you want to do, but it's not something that I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not about to change who I am. I'm not about to just throw away everything that I've worked up towards. I'm not about to change my entire character. But at the exact same time, I'm not expecting you to agree with me either. But I will be heard. Now, lastly, as we approach the end of this episode, here are a couple of tips to speaking your mind effectively. And these are tips that I have made mistakes in, okay? So these are things that I've learned to do over the years. First things first, don't get emotional, all right? And I cannot stress this enough. Do not get emotional when you're speaking your mind, all right? It's a good way to get shut down, all right? A lot of times when you let stuff fester and you allow it to pile up, you eventually end up blowing up. By the time you blow up, just understand that you're about to be very emotional about it, okay? Whether you are angry, whether you're yelling, whether you're crying, it's just gonna come out. So I will say that when you speak your mind, try not to be emotional. Next, do not be disrespectful, all right? I wish you could see how I'm looking at you right now. Don't be disrespectful. You're speaking your mind, and you can articulate yourself in a way that is respectful, okay? You want to be able to take the high ground in this one. Don't roll in the mud with everybody, all right? I say that because I have been in that situation where I allowed myself to speak my mind, and I did it effectively, but I also got very, very disrespectful towards the end because I let my emotions get the best of me. And those two tend to tie into each other. If you can control your emotions, you can also control the conversation, and you can also articulate the conversation in a way that is very respectful. So that way everybody understands exactly where you're at. Another one is don't just agree, okay? You're not here to agree, okay? You're speaking your mind, all right? And when I say don't just agree, somebody is probably going to hear what you have to say and try to warp your whole opinion into what they want it to be. Stand firm on what you want it to be. Be clear and be concise about what you want to be. Don't go into all these other rabbit holes about some other bullshit that happened last month and the month before that. Stick on the topic. But most importantly, and I cannot stress this enough, listen just as much as you are speaking. All right? A good way to get shut down and to be perceived as argumentative. A good way to get shut down and be perceived as disrespectful, argumentative, is just simply not allowing the other party to listen. Let me rephrase that. The other part. A good way to get shut down and be perceived as argumentative and very disrespectful is just simply a good way to get shut down and be perceived as a good way to get shut down and be perceived as argumentative is to talk more than what you're listening. And what I mean by that is that you over here speaking your mind, but you're not allowing somebody else to also speak. You forget that this is a conversation. You don't let your emotions get the best of you. Now, when they interject, they're going to interject with no turn signal. And what I mean, they just going to immediately cut you off. And now you about to get disrespectful because you don't want to be cut off. But you forgot that this was a conversation and there's a two-way street to conversations. So I will always tell you, if you're going to speak, make sure you also listen too. Now, as we come to a close of this episode, I cannot stress this enough. One thing for a fact, two things for certain, and three things for sure. Speaking your mind is very scary, okay? But there are so many benefits to speaking your mind. So I would challenge anybody that's listening to today's episode that in something that you normally would have kept quiet, I tell you right now, man, and let me rephrase that. I challenge you to speak up. You never know what might happen.
And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Don't forget to head on over to your favorite streaming platform, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, and leave this podcast an honest review because this podcast deserves to grow just as much as we do. Also, don't forget to head on over to TikTok or Instagram and follow me at Meech Speaks. That's right, Meech Speaks. Meech is spelled M-E-E-C-H. Stay motivated, stay healthy. I'm out.